Welcome to another edition of the Mailbag from the workshop this time, and we've got a fair few comments to get through. But before we get through those today, normal parish notices. So, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, why not? Hit the subscribe icon. If you want to be notified when this sort of content or other content hits the channel, that's the bell icon is the one you should be hitting. If you like the content of this video or any other video you watch on the channel, give it a thumbs up. It really helps. Become a member of the TMTG community. The address is down there, as are the Instagram and Facebook pages, or Instagram and Facebook pages, whichever way around it is. Go over there. You'll see all the shenanigans of the channel are notified on those platforms. But now back to the video. Okay, this one comes from Theorist, and this is in response to the first 10 minutes of play on my KordBot. I seem to be going through a series of KordBot questions in this exercise. So this was on August 2018. And he or she writes, as someone who is absolutely not a piano keyboard player and needing something along these lines, next page, I'm having a hard time deciding between, or frankly even deciphering, the real differences between the KordBot, the TheoryBoard, and the NDLR. From my admittedly ignorant perspective, the TheoryBoard looks easiest to use. With chords on the left, single notes on the right, colours to match on each side, and you poke the pads with your finger. LOL. But the price of $800 leaves me a bit bewildered, so that kind of leaves me trying to find a similar experience on either the KordBot or the NDLR. If money sprouted from my pockets like weeds. Anyway, thanks for your videos and apologise for the ramble. No apologies for the ramble. We always like rambles on the channel. It's actually quite a difficult question to answer, this one. Because, while they might seem the same, I think they're aimed at different markets and different price points. I think the KordBot was aimed at the composition market, squarely at the composition market. That is definitely how I use it. You know, I use it for playing around with chord progressions. It's dead easy to play around chord progressions, the KordBot. And from what I have seen, if you look at the TheoryBoard, it makes more of a play style tool rather than a composition style tool. But the other thing I would say about TheoryBoard, and I had another look at the TheoryBoard literally 2 days ago. It is a Kickstarter project. It has not progressed into the build environment yet. Okay, so the KordBot's out there. Yes, there's lots of issues with the KordBot, but it's out there, and for me, it does exactly what I want it to do. But when you start, and the KordBot was a Kickstarter project. You know, let's be fair. I mean, it started off as a Kickstarter project, and it became a product. And again, the TheoryBoard is a Kickstarter project. The only difference I have with the TheoryBoard is its price point. The KordBot came in at about $250. This thing's about $800. So, you know, I think, you know, if you invested in the TheoryBoard, you probably would be sitting waiting for it for a period of time, because the way Kickstarter works is if you don't get the money, you don't start the project. Next one comes from Baggers SW. And this one was in response to the MUSE Research and the abandonment of support video I did on the MUSE Receptor back in December 2018. And he writes, or she writes, "Hello, sir. I'm planning to buy one of them called the MUSE Receptor or AVID 11 Rack. I don't even know which is better of these units, but I need one of these to be my main rig for playing live gigs with with my band. I need a powerful sound as an EV 5153 amp user. Can you recommend which one is better?" I think the problem is we're not actually comparing apples with apples. I'm not sure the decision really comes down to better here. But there are another number of key decision points which I think you need to bear in mind before you buy either. Firstly, the MUSE Receptor and the AVID 11 are aimed at different markets. The receptor was aimed at the keyboardist, allowed plugins to be loaded into the unit triggered via the keyboard, and or a sequencer being operated. The AVID Rack 11 is aimed at a guitarist market, not a keyboardist, and as a recording and effects tool. So you're coming at two different market spaces, these two products. Coming from AVID Stable, it has got a good integration with Pro Tools, which is what you'd kind of expect, apart from some of the early products didn't have good integration. The 11 is designed to add effects and EQ to your signal, and also required to emulate classic cabinets. So you could have an amplifier which has a dry feed from an amp, and you can then put a classic cabinet combo onto it, and it would sound like that classic cabinet. And then drive the amp flat and speaker into the PA venue, into your PA. So effectively, you've got the same sound that came out of your cabinet, and the sound that you routed directly into the house system, but you had effectively the same sound. So if you said you wanted a classic Colesborough cabinet, you get a classic Colesborough cabinet. And it's not clear from the question which of these camps you fall into, although I think you're probably a keyboardist rather than a guitarist rather than a keyboardist. The second big factor here is that MUSE have withdrawn support from the receptor, and that was the concept of that video in 2018. Many have commented that in order to get VSTs and plugins to run on the platform, you either had to get MUSE to fettle with them, or you had to get the software order to fettle with it to make it work. It wasn't a straight just load it onto the platform. And with no platform support, how are new VSTs and plugins going to be loaded onto the MUSE Receptor? I think the answer is with difficulty. This platform is not supported on the latest OS from either Microsoft or Catalina. So, where do you go with that? The Rack 11 isn't currently supported on Catalina. Hopefully they can do this on it, but hey ho, Big Sur's just come along, so will it be supported on Big Sur as well? But I believe it's supported by AVID, so despite the fact they have discontinued several of the other interfaces recently, hopefully they haven't discontinued this one. My opinion is the Rack 11 is better option, assuming you haven't got very deep pockets and can consider the C-Lake audio. So I think the C-Lake audio, if you're looking for plugins and VST operation, that's probably a better bet. But guess what? It's a deep pocket piece of equipment. And it might actually cover all your band's requirements, not just your requirements.